Hey fantasy fans, it's Dan here with Treebeard Book Reviews, and you guys have seen from the thumbnail, I'm going to be reviewing Hyperion by Dan Simmons. Let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back. So, yes, Hyperion, Kanto. So, I actually think this might be a bit of a premature review, just because, after finishing this book, I realized I kind of really need to do, finish reading The Fall of Hyperion before I can give my full thoughts. But I kind of want to do like a spoiler-free talk about, some of the things I loved in this book, and why I would recommend the Hyperion, why you should read Hyperion. What did I love about this book? So the big thing is, you start off, you don't really have a lot of information. You meet the consul. He's the character whose head you're in when you're not learning about the other characters in the story. So I guess the way, what's happening is there are 7 people going on a pilgrimage to Hyperion, to the Temple of the Shrike, where one of them will survive, and the Shrike will grant them their wish, their boon, their whatever they want, and the others will die. So, like I said, when you're in the head of the console, you're like, oh well, this is maybe the character we think is going to live, but that's really not how the story works. You're going to learn about the companions who are going along this adventure, this pilgrimage with the console, to the Temple of the Shrike. So it's just broken down into 6 narratives. Even though there's 7 of them, you learn of 6 narratives. And this is a very, like at the beginning, it's a very sci-fi heavy book where they're traveling on this like ship tree called the Yggdrasil, and it's really cool. Just the imagery that Dan Simmons is planting in your head, where you're like, it's like just this cool sci-fi like ambiance you have around you, where even though like it's a fantasy it's actually like a fantasy sci-fi mix, but they're traveling to Hyperion, and so these unlikely companions decide, okay, well, let's tell our stories. And I'll tell you what the stories are. Like you have the priest's tale is first, then it's the soldier's tale, then it's the poet's tale, the scholar's tale, the detective's tale, and then the consul's tale. So you get the consul's tale last. And man, does this story open with a banger, starting with the priest's tale. This is what got me extremely hooked. And it wasn't the content of the first story it's very horror-esque. Like Dan Simmons is known for writing his horror, but it was told in like epistolary style, where it's like journal entries, and it hooked me so hard. It was so gripping, where you want to find out what's going on. And the thing is, like, it's the priest telling his story, but he's not telling his story. He's like, I need to tell you this other story before I tell you my story. So he tells you this other account of another priest, and oh my gosh, it was fantastic. The priest tale, I think, was still my favorite, just because of the narrative structure of it being like this epistolary style, and the way it was told. It was like this horror-esque elements. It was scary, and you felt tense, and it just gripped you the whole way through. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved the poet, or the priest's tale. So then you get into the soldier's tale, which you would think would be just like a shoot 'em up kind of just military like romp, but it's not. It's actually more of a romance. I don't think Dan Simmons writes romance perfectly. And maybe female, like people who have read like romance. And I've actually read a few romance books. My wife has made me read them. Not made me, like we've done book swaps. We've exchanged books. And yeah, it's more of a romance story, which is, not what I expected, and it was different, and it was a little horror-esque sometimes too, but it was still good. And then there was the poet's tale, and the poet, is a character you're not supposed to like. And his story, it really kind of sets the stage for how Hyperion came to be, or how like humans came to settle in Hyperion. It's actually really interesting, and it talks more about like the mythos of the Shrike, and you learn more about the Shrike, which is kind of cool. I really like that. And so the next is the Scholar's Tale. Man alive, this one just punched you like right in the heart, but it's so good. It's Saul. Saul's the scholar, and man, is it just so beautiful. And like the thing is, each story is told differently, right? Like, like the first one's epistolary, then you have this like romance tale, and then this like very artsy poetic style, and then you have like this father's tale, like this scholar's tale, and it's so well done, and it's good. I don't want to give any spoilers away, but it just hits you, and it hits you on an emotional level that this book, like, I was prepared to like. See, the thing is, I went in with no expectations with this book. I didn't know really anything about it. I've watched a few reviews, but like they were again spoiler free, and they didn't really give too much away. But they gave away the impact that this book is going to hit you on many levels, and it really did. It really hit me on multiple emotional levels, which I really enjoyed. And so I think the Scholar's Tale was where it peaked, and then it really started to not go down, but I mean just the it wasn't as interesting. So next was the Detective's Tale, which is, like I said, and then you have a detective novel in here, like. And it was kind of cool because it was like, like that noir style, like Private Eye. I like that. That was kind of fun. The Detective's Tale and the Poet's Tale were probably my least favorite. But they were good because, like, they are a total, like, love letter to John Keats. Like, anyone who's, like, an English major knows who John Keats is. Like, he wrote the Hyperion Cantos. Like, he was a poet in I think it was the 17th century or 18th century. He died of tuberculosis like very young. So like this is just a love letter to John Keats. The planet being called Hyperion, the works of the poet being being called the Hyperion Cantos. It's really good. It's a love letter to John Keats, and I don't think you need to read any Keats to like get it, because Dan Simmons will lay it all out for you. And then the last one is the Consul's Tale, which is really cool. This is really like a heavy like sci-fi tale, and it really shows you how like time and time manipulation and time dilation works, and like time travel, and not time travel but space travel. So I really enjoyed it. So all these 6 narratives that you learn are so drastically different, but they just pull you along. And then again, like after each story's done, you come back to the group and they talk about like. They're going on their pilgrimage, right? So you learn more and more about these characters. You get attached to these characters. It's just so well done. It's so well done. Like, and I think that's because I went in with no expectations, that I enjoyed this book so much, and I strongly recommend it. If you're sitting on the fence about Hyperion, pick it up. Give it to the end of the Priest Tale, and if you don't like it. Then you can put it down, because you're not gonna like it if you don't like the Priest Tale. But like it's so good. It's just Dan Simmons. Like I really appreciate him as a writer. And this like there are moments in pacing where the pacing is better in some than the others. Like I flew through the Poet's Tale, flew through the Scholar's Tale. And like I think the slower ones were the Poet's Tale and the Detective Tale. They were the slower ones for me. But I never felt like I wanted to put down the book, and that's one of the biggest praises I can say for the book. So it's really well worth the read, and I cannot wait to come back and like read it, or come back and do like a full review once I've read The Fall of Hyperion, because then I can, because like the thing is like this book leaves you on a cliffhanger. You're just like da 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 and end. And you're just like, oh, that's it. Wait, like what? That's it? And yeah, it's really, really good. Like, absolutely an enjoyable read. A read I would recommend to anyone. I don't know if it would be like the first sci-fi book I recommend to someone, just because it's really dense. Like, if I get the book here, like it's not a like it's pretty dense. Even though it's like 450 pages odd, or 480 pages. In the paperback I own it, You're never gonna get a hardcover, guys. Sorry to say. I think a Hyperion hardcover goes for like $2,000. They're really rare, like diamond in a pig trough rare. But yeah, like even though it's not a chonker, but it's still a good sized book, and it did feel dense at sometimes. So it wouldn't be my first recommendation. And I guess the last thing I want to talk about is the Shrike. The Shrike, which you can see, pictured on the cover here, is he's terrifying. The Shrike is straight out of like movie horror, like just this character that's just all knives and blades and can manipulate time and isn't affected by time and can move through time, and it's just like scary. He's a really scary character, but he's not like evil, I don't think. Like he's just is. And but yeah, it's really good, guys. And the thing is, like, each kind of storyline kind of brings all these characters together and like paints this bigger picture of how they're all kind of interconnected and why they're going to Hyperion and why they belong. So yeah, this is gonna be, maybe it's not that long, it's like a 12-minute review, but yeah, so good. It's so good. Super enjoyed it. Can't wait to dive back in. I don't know when I'm gonna read Fall of Hyperion. It won't be in April because I've already got my TBR for April, but May I could see myself jumping into that. And I will come back and talk about it because, like, it's so cool. It's really cool. I really hope it lives up to the hype and like the enjoyment I got from this. So, rating for Hyperion. This one I struggled with because not everything hit for me, but it was super solid. So I'm gonna give the Hyperion Cantos the Treebeard seal of approval. It was so good, guys. It didn't reach that S tier yet, but it's still one of my top books of the year for 2022. Absolutely loved it. Highly recommend. You do yourself a disservice not to pick it up and read it, and just give it a shot. It'll take you out of your comfort zone, and I think books should do that. So anyways, guys, that's it from me. This is, just been another spoiler-free review. If you guys like the channel, please like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, thank you so much. Cheers.